Fireflies. My name is Rae,
And I'm Marie.
and this is Catch A Firefly. So Marie, we've been at this for like, I don't know, 3 hours now. My voice is getting
Something
tired.
like that. Yeah, you've definitely
Uh,
been doing a little bit more talking than I have, so I'd imagine so.
my voice, like, feels a bit scratchy. I'm hoping that I can survive this episode and then next episode, because I know you're real excited for next episode. What is next episode?
The next episode is going to be about Agent Orange, so much excitement.
Our first episode on our segment, Humans Can Be Monsters Too. And I'm
Mhm.
real excited about that because it's about true crime and government conspiracies. Oh,
Mhm.
we love it. So the
Much
topic.
love.
Oh, 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 what is that? What is that? There's a bunch of flies since I opened the window, and I'm like, get out of my
Oh
house.
no. They're
I
gonna be
know.
attracted to the light too. Just gonna
I
like
know.
swarm around you.
That's why I've
You're
been
our
like,
queen.
get out of my light. I'm the star of the show. Anyways, so our topic today is Dogman, and
Mhm.
you already know Dogman is my jam. If there was one cryptid that I could talk about and rant for like an hour straight, it's Dogman. And the reason for this, I believe, Marie put it into good words that I
Mhm.
compare Dogman to human serial killers because that's basically what their behavior is like. Their sadistic and psychopathic tendencies.
Mhm. Yeah, would you be able to like compare? Like, do you have a specific serial killer that you might want to draw an analogy or draw a comparison to Dogman?
You know what? Not really, because like with Dogmen,
It's just more of a
they're very
generality.
yeah. It's more of a generality because with humans, they have a certain MO. They have a certain um a way of killing their their victims, and that
Hmm.
differentiates between each serial killer. With
Hmm.
Dogman, they have the same mentality to play around with their prey.
Hmm.
They kind of like to have people shaken up. They like the fear in their eyes.
Hmm.
At least that's how I take it, and how people who have countered these animals have taken it.
Hmm. Yeah. So, when was the first time you heard about Dogman? Because for me personally, the first time I heard about it, or came to the knowledge of its popularity, I was actually doing a little bit of research and I found out that, sorry, a little bit of background noise. I actually found out the reason Dogman became more mainstream was because an artist by the name of Steve Cook put out a song called The Legend. And in this song, he kind of described a beast similar to the Dogman. And he actually, by coincidence, had no idea what the Dogman was. It was purely a joke, and he started getting all kinds of emails and all kinds of messages from different people about their encounters with this creature that he described in his song. And I thought that was super interesting. So, when was the first time you either heard about it or the most popular story you've heard about Dogmen that you would like to share?
You know what? I can't even pinpoint when I started learning about Dogman. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that like once I've heard about it, like I deep dove into it. Because
Mm-hmm.
so the story of Dogman has been passed down by generations within certain Native American tribes,
Mm-hmm.
because they believe that this is an evil entity that craves human flesh, similar to a flesh pedestrian. If you don't know what a flesh pedestrian is, go on TikTok because I'm too close to residential, to not residential, to reservations to be saying the real name out loud.
Exactly. That's for safety purposes only.
Yeah, we're not doing that tonight. But I've when we think of like Dogman, we think of the type 1 because there's two types, and the type 1 is the Hollywood type werewolf. And half wolf and half human beast have been reported all over the world. However, the first stories to come out
Mm-hmm.
of a werewolf go as far as ancient Greece.
Mm-hmm.
For the information that we have today, it's mostly focused on the Americas.
Mm-hmm. I know you kind of mentioned like the amount of sightings that the Dogman sightings and reportings, that it's very similar to Bigfoot in terms of the amount. However, Dogman um, was more of a cryptid that wasn't as well known as Bigfoot until more recently, I'd say. So would you be able to kind of explain why you think that is? Like, why would you say maybe?
Yeah, so as you said, like most people who know about Dogman, they usually have encountered the song.
Mhm,
But it wasn't real known because I think people have encountered Bigfoot. They can understand. It's a primate similar to us. It just far back in the woods, more hairy, yada yada. When we think of werewolves, we think in Hollywoods, we think in there's a man who transformed in full moon. It's more unbelievable
mhm,
than Bigfoot.
mhm. Yeah, I guess because when you think of Bigfoot and the stereotypical like ape like creature, you think of, well, I mean, gorillas exist, so it might not be that far fetched to think that, something bigger but similar would exist. But I guess if you would think the same thing for a werewolf, which would be kind of a half human, half wolf type thing, that's definitely is a bit more far fetched, a bit more out there. So I definitely would agree with your explanation. Um,
You,
how would you dis?
sorry to interrupt you,
No,
but
it's okay.
um, Bigfoot is more believable because
Mm-hmm.
when skeptics are trying to wrap their head around Bigfoot, they could be like, "Oh, a gorilla's on the loose. That's okay." But
Mm-hmm.
when you're telling someone that there was a wolf and he's running full force at you on his hind legs, you can be like, "Stop now. Where'd you
This
get the
person is
strength?"
going through psychosis. Something is going on.
Yeah, they're just like, "Okay, Jim. Nice story, Jim. Stop talking to Jim."
Go get some sleep.
Right?
Snickers bar.
Yeah. So what was the question you were gonna ask?
So I was gonna ask for you to kind of describe the appearance of said dog man. I know you kind of went into a little bit about its height and it having like, more of a human chest and stuff, but can you go a bit more into detail?
Yes, so like I had said, there's two types, the typical Hollywood werewolf, and then there's another type, which I believe people are referring to the Uruguay. The Uruguay comes from Colorado. It's more of a Bigfoot, you know, humanoid. I mean, yeah, this is a human torso, but it's more so the legs. The legs
Mm-hmm.
are bipedal, upstanding. There's no hind legs like a dog, as
Mm-hmm.
in the werewolf would have.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the similarities between Bigfoot and Dogman, and why I believe it's it's a organic creature, is because of the genetic differences between sightings. Because some people report seeing groups of these dogman creatures, and every single one of them would have like a certain feature that was off. So one would have a German Shepherd head, a Doberman Pinscher or hyena kind of thing. I've also heard of a Chihuahua head.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be interesting to see.
I think that sounds super funny because I mean when you describe the dog man, it's you think of this like very ferocious, very intimidating looking creature. But I'd have to think that if I ran into, you know, a chihuahua looking thing with like a big body, I might laugh. I mean, it might kill me, it might like torture me, but I feel like I'd laugh while it's happening.
Yeah, I don't think what they're saying is it's a small head on a big body. I think, although that'd be hilarious, I
Yeah.
think it's just the shape of the head,
Hmm.
um, along with the variety of different colors of their coat.
Hmm.
Because some of them can be reddish, brownish, to pitch black. There's been reports of a white and silver coat.
Oh wow. That actually sounds
So
pretty.
yeah, so when you take all these like genetic differences, you can see like, okay, that's sort of like the genetic differences we see in domesticated dogs,
Hmm.
where some species would have a certain physical features.
Hmm.
So it just makes it more real to me that there's
Hmm.
different varieties. As we
Yeah,
said
that
in
makes total sense.
Yeah, as we said from like Bigfoot, they have different characteristics and variety
Hmm.
because of their geological
Location.
location.
Mhm. What
Mhm.
would you say is their most like known feature and why?
The eyes. So it's said to have red to amber eyes, and my theory is based on like the light hitting the eye reflects the color.
Hmm.
Um, because when you hear a lot about these sightings, they're nocturnal animals. They come out at night.
Hmm.
It's very rare that you get a sighting in the day.
Hmm.
If you do, you probably have more chances to like run and hide,
Hmm.
if if I may, because at night, I don't know about you, but I can't see anything at night.
Nope,
And
I
if
cannot.
I
That's why I stub my toe all the time.
and if I see this, and you see this humanoid creature, you flash their lights at its eyes, and you see red or ember. Oh shoot! Sorry if you heard that. Kind of hit my microphone. And you see this red or ember. You kind of like you're going to freak. You're gonna have a physical response to freeze.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things that their eyes do. They actually cause psychological fears. So
Hmm.
when people have encounters, after the effects, it's PTSD, sleeping disorders like insomnia and night terrors. People are like has a visual reaction of their eyes, which some people actually have described the eyes to be intelligent and expressive. Like they know
Hmm.
what the creature is saying to them just based on their eyes.
So kind of like nonverbal communication.
Yeah, and there's other reports saying that it can speak to you telepathically. And that's
Hmm.
where we go into like the paranormal and extraterrestrial because
Hmm.
um yeah, because when you have aliens, you have Dogman and Bigfoot. When you're near uh Native American cemeteries, then you have all this activity going on. Um, and you know what's one thing that I can never gather my head around? Why these creatures are drawn to Native American territories or like um, just cemeteries in general. And I can get that there's dead people, rotting flesh attracts animals,
Hmm.
especially if they're scavengers. Like everyone wants a free meal,
Hmm.
but it's just I can also like argue that it's Native Americans. This is their people's land.
Yeah.
There's bodies all over the nation.
Hmm.
There's just so happens to be a
They're
known
drawn to those.
cemetery.
Hmm.
It just happens to be a known cemetery. So when they hear about these creatures that are gathered around it, that's the reason,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm. Of course.
I don't know if I said that correctly. I don't know if I'm
I
bringing this
think so.
idea across.
Yeah, I got what you mean. I know a lot of the times Native Americans are said to be, very spiritually in tuned. So that could also be another reason if we want to link certain cryptids like Dogman, because to get more into that in terms of humanization, but I do know that Native Americans tend to see Dogman as more of an evil entity, as you said. So how would you kind of draw that connection between what you were saying in terms of humanizing them, but at the same time also kind of regarding them more as paranormal? Like what would you say differentiates that? Why would you give more reason to them being more blood than paranormal?
Think I'm on the fence, and I know it's bad to
Mm-hmm.
be on the fence. And the reason why I'm so um obsessed with the cryptid Dogman is
Mm-hmm.
because okay, so here's the thing. I like researching paranormal because I like the idea of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Scientifically, I know that there is um, organic, logical reason why
Mm-hmm.
this creature exists.
Mm-hmm.
But the reports of being telepathic and the sheer force they have on people, I can see why people have the reaction that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just telepathic, it's the humanization of their communication. So similar to other canines, their body language is important, such as the
Mm-hmm.
position of the ears. Where the paranormal starts to happen is the mimicking of other voices. So, do you
Mm-hmm.
remember how I said that they were said to be evil creatures similar to the blessed pedestrian?
Yes.
When we think of mimicking of the flesh pedestrian, we think
Mm-hmm.
of they're trying to draw us in to
Mm-hmm.
like babies crying, to loved ones'
Mm-hmm.
voices, to get us isolated, kill us.
Yes.
And that's where we start to break down the horrors.
Mm-hmm.
That and the woman like screams.
Yes.
That's where I am on the fence
Of
because
course.
there's not enough field research in Dogman that there is in Bigfoot, but I would not do field research on Dogman.
Absolutely not. We can cross that off the board right now.
like honestly, I realize that a Dogman and Bigfoot share the same habitat, shelter,
Mm-hmm.
location, and you hear, encounters of them squabbling amongst each other for territory.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to go out to do Bigfoot research,
We could very
we,
easily come across something that we don't really want to come across. Um,
yeah,
but I would say definitely one of the reasons not to try to do field research on this particular cryptid is because we talked a little bit about this in episode 1 about Bigfoot, but I had asked Ray if they thought Bigfoot was not necessarily evil in a way, but if they kind of like stalk and, play with their prey for fun. And Ray kind of mentioned that it's not necessarily that they do it for fun, but maybe as a teaching moment for their young on how to hunt. But in terms of dogman, what it sounds like more is that they definitely play with their prey for fun. It's they would come to you most definitely, not just for food, but because they wanna get a rise out of you before they eventually kill you. So yeah, I definitely don't think you're gonna be getting away from that one. You can't avoid it.
yeah. And I don't think I understand the question at the time. But I I do think Bigfoot likes to get a rise out of people because you hear stories of like people in their van campers and Bigfoot is shaking and you hear
Hmm.
and it's similar to like us humans. We play around, we prank each other.
Uh-huh.
We like to hear the other people scream out of
Hmm.
horror for our own excitement.
Hmm.
I think it's kind of similar to that, but at least Bigfoot is not like trying
It's
to
not
like
sadistic
break in.
behavior.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think that's the difference. Yeah.
yeah, it's not theories
Hmm.
surrounding about where they originate, where they come from. As I said, these are creatures sighted all over the world, and surprisingly, Australia.
Hmm. It's really hot over there, so you'd think that, you know.
Yeah, I'm just like, have you messed with emus before? I would not.
You're gonna square up with a kangaroo.
No, but can you imagine a fight between an emu and a dogman? Like, I get the dogman would have an upper hand, but it's
Hmm.
just emus have that like they're pretty tall and yet they have like short men tempers.
Hmm. I'd like to apologize really quick for background noises. I know my little sister's kind of screaming right now, and then my neighbor's dog decides to make an appearance, you know, because we're talking about dog man, but you might hear that dog howling in the back a little bit. So my apologies.
Yeah.
To kind of transition a little bit, I know you like listening to the Dogman podcast, the Dogman Encounters, I believe. What
Yes.
would you say is the most gruesome encounter you've like read, heard, or listened to? I know you said that they're very sadistic. Can you kind of
Mhm.
give examples of how they would kill their prey in a sadistic way?
So with me, and I'm sure for Marie as well, we don't have that good a memory. And I feel like I've talked about this in episode one, but again, we don't have good memories.
No, I'm over
Oh,
here asking the questions because I can't like remember certain informational bits right now, so it's totally okay.
yeah. So I believe I watched like 425 episodes of Dogman Encounters Radio.
Commitment right there.
I know, right? And it's just me washing the dishes as I'm listening to it. uh, and so I don't really remember any specific encounter that
Mhm.
was gruesome because if it was gruesome, they wouldn't be alive to tell you about it.
This is very true.
Yeah, but they have been sightings of how they kill their prey. So
Hmm.
similar to Bigfoot, they like to break the limbs and then the neck. It's said that they they like to let it squeal for a bit.
Oh
I'm
goodness.
sorry, my sister's in the room, so she's just like came in like the wrong time. She probably thinks I'm like a sadistic psychopathic killer. No, no, Sarah. I'm talking about Dogman. Yeah, but there's been reportings of like children. So when I say children, I'm saying like 8 to 12, and they're remembering and recounting their stories of how they were chased by this creature. There was this one um, interview with this woman who she was young. I can't remember her age,
Mhm.
but she lived close to the woods, and
Mhm.
they were out in the field, and they have livestock like horses, and she was riding one of her horses on the trail, and her horse like sensed something, and this horse was just so fearful she wouldn't cross whatever was like the road or something,
Mhm.
and she couldn't hear anything. She was just like, oh, maybe it's a bear, but the horse was so frantic she like got bucked off,
Wow.
and she basically like had to walk back, and it wasn't until later that night that she saw this massive dogman creature like
Mhm.
trying to shake her horses. You know the building, the stables.
Uh-huh.
Like she saw like how massive and the building compared to the animal was, and how it was able to shake and frighten the horses, and the how high the claw marks were.
Mhm.
I think that's it's her encounterment.
Mhm.
You can hear it in her voice how scared she was.
Mhm.
As all intelligent creatures, they're very spiteful. Like you hear stories about Bigfoot being spiteful and petty, and like if you mess with them, they're gonna mess with you, and they won't stop messing with you until they're satisfied with their revenge. Well,
Mhm.
these Dogmans are just as spiteful.
Mhm. My, um, I know. In regards to how they travel, do they travel alone? Do they travel in packs? I know, as we talked about kind of a little bit in Bigfoot, Sasquatch slash Bigfoot, they would travel in groups, and those groups would tend to be families, if you will, or multiple branches of them. Would you know a little bit about Dogmen in that sense?
Yeah, so as I said about the variation of like head shape and coats, they travel in packs, much like other canines, and they don't
Mhm.
travel in packs that are similar to them. You can see the different variation within their packs. So that's why I believe that they're more biological, real, because you can see that variation.
Mhm.
Again, um, similar to Bigfoot, you usually see one, but if you see one, you should know that along the bush there are
There
others.
are others nearby. Yeah.
Yeah, I would ask, how do you think you would protect yourself from these creatures?
Oh my goodness. This is even harder. You asked me this question last episode, and I think I gave you an answer much as I would just lay down and I would kind of accept defeat. And honestly, like I'll give a generic answer again and say the same thing because it's like I I would argue that I would be more scared of an encounter with Dogman than I would with Bigfoot. I would be
Mhm.
absolutely terrified and probably shit my pants with either of them. But it it's like how do you outrun a predator like that? How do you get away from a predator like that other than, doing your best to avoid it, And kind of what I said in the last episode was you you've seen them and you know that they've probably seen you. So therefore your best bet, and if not the only bet, would just to be avoidance, and it would be to try to act like you didn't see them and just kind of try to walk away. Don't necessarily run, nor because that's just going to draw attention to yourself. So make yourself the least desirable, if you will, because if they want a game out of you, then don't try not to show them fear. I'm sure they can smell it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you if they weren't sadistic psychopathic tendencies. Uh, Only because once they see you, it's game over. You gotta hide. You gotta find some type of shelter because whatever you're carrying to go hunting, because
Hmm.
you're mostly in the woods to go hunting.
Hmm.
I guarantee you the caliber that you have, it's not enough.
Yep, not enough. You could have a
Yeah.
gun, a rifle, a machine gun. It's not gonna work.
Well, a machine gun, it might, you
It
know.
might work, but then at the same time, if
Why are you
we,
hunting with a machine gun?
I mean, you're not. I'm just kidding. But it's
um,
like if we were to say that they were paranormal as opposed to blood, because we can't we can't prove either or wrong or either or right.
Uh,
So therefore it doesn't necessarily matter if we just say theoretically they're paranormal. They're not gonna die. They're not.
yeah, that's so true. But if they were biological creatures, very organic, they would have some weaknesses. And I have two theories
Just tickle
that could
them.
work. Yeah, so one of them is high frequency sounds, sort of like canines and us. Um, if you hear a high enough frequency, it will hurt your ears. So I don't know, maybe a dog whistle or like something that can create infrasounds just high enough to kind of like hurt their ears.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one is, chili powder. I don't know about you, but if someone threw chili powder at me, I would kind of like get away from them, or it can piss them off. Either one. I'm just saying,
Exactly.
it's
Because
like
it's like
I don't.
what if the high frequency sound didn't work? Like they're somehow immune to it, and then you just make it worse. You just kind of piss them off and annoy them more, and it's like, you know what? It's like you're gonna get it even worse now because you wanted to mess with me.
Yeah, like if you're carrying bear spray, that would be
Pepper
understandable because
spray,
that.
maybe. Yeah, bear spray, pepper spray. Yeah.
Yeah, but I hope your aim is good.
Yeah, and mine is not.
Uh, I kind of want to go into our conclusion and put this topic to rest for a bit, unless public demands we talk about it a bit more. But I had wrote this when I was doing my research, and I said, I think as humans, especially in the modern day, we think of ourselves as the apex predator. Tell ourselves these creatures shouldn't be real. We forget that they were here before us, as stories as old speak of their existence. Their intelligence is far beyond our understanding. Sure, humans have technologies, ever expanding communications, weapons, and resources. However, I stand to argue that the reason they are far more intelligent than us is that they chose to stay within their natural element. It is far more wiser to make people believe you never existed than reveal all your secrets.
Very well said.
Yeah, so yeah, that's all we have for Dogman. I hope you like it. I hope you go check out our first episode if you haven't, and to continue checking out our channel for our next episode, which Marie will be taking the leads on these. So that'll be
Yes.
it.
Alrighty.
All right. Farewell, fireflies. Farewell.
Farewell.